So please look at this ratio. So far, so you could find out. We use net credit sales. So what does it mean, net credit sales? We earn the revenues on credit on account. Means what? At the beginning, customer owe you money, right? So when you sell the products, customer owe you money on the first date. So this one means customer owed money on first date. Okay, so that's net credit sales. So how about net accounts receivable? Net accounts receivable is our NRV, right? NRV means we expect how much money we could receive from customer in the future, right? Here, did you find out average? Average means beginning number minus ending balance divided by 2. So you got average. So here average told you is beginning balance plus ending balance divided by 2. You got average. So when I use net credit sales means what? Sales revenue on credit means customer owe you money on first day. What is the first day? You sold the product to customer, so they owe you money. So NRV means what? They still owe you money, right? So it means customers still owe you money on last day. At the beginning, they owe you money, for example, $100. After 1 year, they only owe you money $20. So that $100 means on the first day, they owe you money. $20 means they still owe you money on the last day. Okay? So based on this, what does it mean? Based on this, 100 they owe you money on first day. After 1 year, they only owe you money 20. So what does it mean? Means they pay you money back. How much? $80, right? So it means for the whole year, customer paid 80 to you already. Okay? So this ratio, higher is better or lower is better? Higher is better. Why? Higher means they owe you money on the first day. Comparing they owe you money on the last day. Higher means what? Like they pay you money back more, right? Like what? If you can understand. So if this one in this case is 5, right? 5 times 5倍. If I told you another case here, if it's 110, this one you got 10 times. So which one? Higher is better or lower is better? Higher. Higher means what? You got more money back. So in this case, you got cash. You got cash 90. So which one is better? Higher. higher means you got more cash back. Of course, that's better for your company. So this ratio, higher is better, means you have a better ability to get a cash back. Okay? So higher means you have a better ability to get a cash back. Any questions? Okay? So higher is better. Higher is better. Higher is better. Why? Because you got more cash back. Any questions? You know, don't use your cell phone in the class without, if it's not about the class content, don't use your cell phone. Okay, so from this ratio, you will find out we use it to find out our ability to get the cash back. So this ratio, if higher, is better because you have a better ability to get the cash back. Any questions? Second ratio, we look at the same thing. The only difference is this ratio, when you find out the number 5 means 5 times, right? So after this ratio, if you got the number 5, means what? 5 times. Means 5 times. 5倍. Second ratio, we look at the same thing, but use different unit. So what's a different unit? We look at the days. You need to spend how many days to get the money back. So that's why we use 1 year divided by your first ratio. We use 1 year divided by your first ratio. Accounts receivable turnover. So this from your first ratio. Okay, after that, you will find out every time you try to get the cash. So you will note how many days you need to spend in order to get the cash. So average number of days. How many days in order to get your accounts receivable? So this ratio, lower is better or higher is better? Lower, right? Because you spend less days to get same amount of money back. So lower is better, means you have a better ability to receive the cash from your customers. Okay? So two ratios look at the same thing, but use different units. First ratio, we look at the times. So how fast we look at the times 几倍，所以几倍快几倍快。Second ratio, we look at the same thing, but we look at the days. How many days you need in order to get the same amount of money back? Okay? Any questions? So let's say for chapter 9, we talk about receivables, we talk about the risk, we talk about your abilities to get the cash back. If you don't have any questions, then we finish chapter 9. So what does it mean? We have the quiz after 2 weeks. Right? So next week, Tia will help you to solve the problems for chapter 9. After 2 weeks, we have the quiz for your chapter 9. Then let's go to chapter 8, sorry, chapter 8. So let's go to chapter 9. So please go to chapter 9. If you don't have the slides, you could download it from portal now. So chapter 9, we talk about another kind of essays. So far, we talk about chapter 5 and 6, inventory, 存货. Chapter 8, we talk about receivables, another essay. Chapter 9, we talk about another essays. And this is the last essay we want to talk about. So chapter 10 is about liabilities, 负债. Oh, chapter 10 or 11 is quite difficult. So try to earn your score as soon as possible. You know, when we talk about liabilities, there's a quite difficult, quite tough for you guys. So when we talk about that chapter, you will appreciate your chapter 8 and 9. So chapter 9, we talk about planned essay and intangible essays. There's the last two essays I want to talk about. So planned essay, intangible essay, why we talk about them together? Because these two kind of essays, we call it long-term operating essays, 长期营业资产. These two essays are our long-term operating essays. Look at the terms. So what kind of characteristic they have? First is long-term, right? So it's long-term. Long-term means what? We are going to use them for a long time, for many years. So not only for 1 year. Second term is what? They are operating. So what does it mean, operating? We use them for operating activities. So we use them to help us earn sales revenues, service revenues from customers. Okay? So based on that, what's the definitions we have? Long term, right? So we are going to use it more than 1 year. So that's why here I told you we use them for several years because there's a long term. Also, operating assets. So we use that to help us do operating activities. So only for operating activities. So means help your company to earn revenues from customers. Okay? Since we use that to do operating activities, and since we use that for many years, so also we keep that, we have that kind of assets for sales. No, of course, we use that we keep that for use, right? Because we are going to use them for many years. So you should understand, we have this kind of assets because we want to use that, not sell it. So our purpose, not sell it. So anyone could tell me what kind of assets our purpose is to sell it, not use it. So far, we've learned not many assets, right? What's that? Inventory, receivables, and here, long-term operating assets. So what kind of asset our only purpose is to sell it? Anyone? Janet. Oh, Chelsea. Inventory, okay? Inventory, remember, we have the inventory. What's our purpose? We want to sell it to customers in order to earn revenues, profits from customers, right? Okay, so only inventory, our purpose. Inventory, our purpose for resale. Remember? So definition is very important in accounting. Why is that? You meet the definition. That's your long-term operating assets. You meet the definition resale. That's your inventory. For example, if BMW company, if I told you for BMW company, they have a 2 car. So one car, BMW, 2 car, BMW. If I told you this car, BMW is going to use for managers. Okay? This car, second car, is going to resell to customers. Okay? Did you find out? Even though 2 same cars, different kind of purpose. First car, they are going to use it for managers. So if managers, if they need a car to visit other companies, to visit customers, they could use the car. Second car, that's their products. They are going to sell it to customers. Same car with different purpose. Could you tell me, first card, we call it what? Second card, we call it what? First card is for this chapter, chapter 9. We call it equipment, 设备. Okay? So it's for chapter 9. We talk about it. It's your equipment. 设备. Second card, we call it what? Inventory in your chapter 5 and 6. So did you find out? Actually, definitions are very important. Same thing with different purpose. We look at that at different kind of things. Okay, different kind of assets. So remember, definitions very important. Please remember the definitions. Okay? Jia-Chi. Okay, if you don't have any question. So that's right. You should understand. We talk about long-term operating assets, 长期营业资产, with our purpose for used several years to help your company do the operating activities, earn the revenues from customers. Okay, so we have 2 major long-term operating assets. First is plant assets, 固定资产. Second is intangible assets, 无形资产. That's why in this chapter, chapter 9, we talk about these 2 assets, plant assets and intangible assets. Okay, so what's the difference between these 2? Actually, we use them for several years to help your company do operating activities. So both of them the same. We use them used for several years to help you do operating activities. Right? So both of them meet these 3 definitions. So what's the difference? The only one difference is planned assets, intangible assets. The only one difference is planned asset we have physical substance, 实体. So means what? You know their shape. You could touch them. You know what they look like. So there's a PPE, planned asset. They have tangible, 实体的 means physical substance, 实体. Intangible asset. Did you find out? Intangible. So means what? They don't have physical substance. You don't know what they look like. You cannot touch them. You don't know their shape. They don't have physical substance. So this is the only one different. So this is intangible. 无形的. Okay, others totally the same. So physical or intangible. Okay, so for planned assets, what kind of planned assets we have? Usually four major planned assets. Like what? Land, buildings, machine equipment, furnitures. So like this kind of things, right? Buildings, like how many buildings we have? Building 1, building 2, building 3, building 6, building 7, right? So do you know which buildings look like? Yes. Could you touch the buildings? Yes, of course. So intangible assets like what? Copyright, 著作权, patent, 专利权, franchise, 特许权, goodwill, 商誉. So they are our intangible assets. Okay, so after we done this kind of assets, we are done this chapter. Okay, and we focus on planned assets first. If you understand planned assets, then there will not be the big problem for you to understand intangible assets. Okay, so the same definition. So did you find out from this slide 7? Each company, they have different kind of percentage about planned assets. So means what? This is planned assets divided by total assets. So higher percentage means what? They have more planned assets, right? Like they have more buildings, they have more land, they have more equipment, they have more cars, so on. Lower percentage means their assets majorly came from other kind of assets, not planned assets. So could you tell me what kind of companies they have more planned assets? What kind of company they have less planned assets? Manufacturing companies, service company. Manufacturing companies, they have more or less planned assets? More, right? Manufacturing company, you need more equipment, you need more machines to help you produce your products, right? Service company, they provide a service, so they don't need more equipment, they don't need more cars. Okay, so depends on what kind of company you have, you will have a different kind of percentage. So the planned assets are more important for you or not, depends on what kind of company you are. Okay, so for this SAP, it's a software company. They provide service. Majorly, their business is provide the service. So did you find out their percentage for plan asset will be lower? Okay. So if you have no problems, let's look at plan assets. Plan assets 固定资产 sometimes we will call it other name like what? Property, plant and equipment, PPE. So property, plant and equipment, PPE 不动产、厂房、设备 P property, P plant and equipment, E PPE. So PPE, property, plant and equipment 不动产、厂房、设备 Or sometimes you will find out they call them plant and equipment, or they call them fixed assets, totally the same. So you should understand, they call you plant asset, PPE, plant equipment, fixed assets. Actually, they are the same, using different names. 4 major PPE we have: land improvements, buildings, equipment. So these are 4 major PPE we have: land improvement, building, and equipment. So I think no problem for you, right? For land. So I don't think we need to explain it, right? So land. That's the first asset PPE we have. Second is land improvement, 土地改良物. So what does it mean? It means something structural additions on the land with limited life. So what does it mean, limited life? You cannot use it forever. Maybe you could use it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. So, but not forever. So there's limited life. 使用年限有限的. So maybe you could use it 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, but not forever. It's a structural additions on your land. So for example, like what? Driveways, parking lot, fences, 篱笆, landscaping, 景观, sprinklers, 洒水器. So all of these kind of things, these kind of structural additions on the land. So that's our land improvement, 土地改良物. Okay? Any questions? No problem, right? How about buildings and equipment? No problem, right? So buildings is like what? Like stores, office, factory, warehouse. So that's our buildings, stores, office, factories, warehouse. Warehouse is 仓库. Factory 工厂. Office 办公室. Airplane hangars 停机棚. Okay, so there's buildings. How about equipment? Like your car, like your bicycle, motorcycle. So like your machine, like your airplane, they are your equipment. Okay, so for buildings and equipment, if you want to use one term to describe their difference, what? Buildings, you cannot move it, right? Buildings, they are there. So could you move your buildings? No, you cannot. But for equipment, usually they could be moved. They could be moved, right? Like a car, like your machines, like your airplane, they could be moved. So there's a key difference about buildings and equipment. Also, I mentioned before, for equipment and supplies, VS. supplies. What's the difference? 办公用品设备。For these two, what's the difference between these two? Equipment, 设备 supplies, 办公用品设备。What's the key difference? Drew, surprise. Surprise? The price. Yeah, the price. So the price means the amount of money you spend to buy it. It like in Taiwan, we use the amount, the cutoff is $10,000 NT. If I spend $10,000 to buy one thing, we will recall it as equipment. Below $10,000, we will recall it as supplies. Okay, so use the price, the amount. Okay, so amount, price. Okay, so in Taiwan, maybe NT dollars, $10,000. Oh. Is the cutoff, so it's NT 10,000. So equipment is bigger. Surprise is a small amount. Okay. So did you find out definition is very important to determine what it is? Okay, any questions? If you don't have any questions, then 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 issues we want to talk about on your PPE. Always, like an inventory. Always, what's the first issue? Determine the cost. How much money you spend to buy your inventory? How much money you spend to buy your PPE? Plan asset, 固定资产. Okay, so first issue. After that, we will talk about the following expenditures we have. Like what? When we buy the car, we will talk what's the cost you spend to buy the car. But after you got the car, do we still need to spend more money after you got the car? Yes, right? After I got a car, maybe every year I need to repair my car. I need to go to buy some stuff to replace my parts, right? Like wheels, like any parts, 零件, right? So for the following expenditures, we have how to recognize it. Also, have you heard about depreciation, 折旧? So for PPE, always, after you use your PPE, then we have to consider this issue, depreciation, 折旧. Finally, someday when I don't need my PPE, I'm going to sell it. So again, how could we recall it when you decide to sell your PPE? Okay, so there's a structure we have. We want to talk about 4 issues. First one, cost. Remember from chapter 5 and 6, how to determine the cost of inventory. Anyone? Cost of inventory from your chapter 5 and 6. Cost of inventory. Cost of inventory, 存货成本 means what? Means how much money you spend to buy it, to buy your inventory. Cost of inventory from chapter 5. How to determine it? Fiona? Yeah, cost is 1 plus 2. Remember? So what's 1? Sabrina, what's 1? What's 2? R 1 purchase price, 2 is made ready for sale, right? Totally the same. If you understand it, you understand our first issue. So how to determine your PPE? 1 plus 2. So what's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? Make it ready for use, not sale. Because remember, PPE for use, not for sale. So make it ready for use. How to determine the cost? 1 plus 2. What's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? Make it ready for use. 达到可供使用状态 because we talk about PPE, not inventory. Okay? So 1 plus 2. Yeah. Of course, you could sell it someday, but that's not our purpose. Yeah, our purpose is want to use it, not sell it. So someday after 10 years, after 20 years, when I don't need it, could you sell it? Of course, that's your asset, but it's not our purpose. Okay? So based on this, so 1 plus 2, remember? What's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? During the whole process. Maybe fly-in. Remember? Delivery fee paid by buyer and sales tax 5% in Taiwan. After that, make it ready for use. You make it work at your company. So that's 1 plus 2. So fly-in, including fly-in means delivery fee 运费 paid by whom? Buyer, you, right? You are the buyer. Sales tax in Taiwan, always we have to pay 5% to government. Okay? So during the whole process, 1 plus 2, that's our cost of your PPE. Okay? So based on this logic, I think most of PPE, how to determine the cost should be no problem for you guys. Okay? So let's look at the land. So land, what's the cost? 1 plus 2, right? So what's 1? Purchase price. What's 2? Make it ready for use. So for 2, make it ready for use means what? The land become yours. You could use it. So not only fly-in, not only sales tax, because PPE more complicated. So in not only these 2, we have more 2. Okay? So what's that? For example, closing cost, 过户费. So what does it mean, closing cost, 过户费? You know, change seller's name to your name. So you need to pay closing cost. Okay? 过户费. Change the titles from sellers to yours. 过户费. For example, change the name, title from sellers to you. 过户费. So finally, After that, the land is on my name. So that's my land, finally. Or like what? Attorney's fee, lawyer's fee, for these kind of things, it's not that easy. So usually you will ask the lawyer to help you. So you have to pay them the money. So lawyer's fee. Also including what? Make your land ready for use. So you have to make sure your land have a good conditions, right? So how to make your land have a good conditions? You have to pay some money to grading, filling, dredging, clearing your land. Okay, so you have to do something on your land to make them have a good condition for next step, next phases. So we do this kind of things to make your land have a good condition. 场地整理成本 Okay? So use that to make your land have a good condition. Only your land have a good conditions, then they will be ready for use. Okay? When your land have a good conditions will make them ready. Make land ready for use. Okay? Also, when you want to buy the land, when you want to buy the house, usually we will find whom to help us find a good house, find a good land. Real estate brokers, right? 中介商、房地产经纪人. So you should find out the real estate brokers to help you find a good land, find a good house. So you have to pay them commissions. So including that, real estate brokers commissions. You have to pay them some 佣金 commissions, maybe 5%, 1%, 2%, so on. Okay, so for PP2, more situations, more expenses we have than inventory. So that's 2. Any questions? Okay, so how about land improvement? 1 plus 2, the same. So 1 plus 2, the same. But it's not very important so far, but you just need to know 1 plus 2. How about buildings? Buildings, be careful. When we talk about buildings, we have 2 cases, 2 situations. One is more easier when you buy the buildings. So I find out the office, the buildings I like, I just buy it. So it's quite simple, like a previous essays, 1 plus 2. So what's 1? Like your land, purchase price, right? 2, make it ready for use, including closing cost, 过户成本. Remember that? You change seller's title, seller's name to yours. So you had to pay closing cost. Also, you need real estate brokers help you to find the good buildings. So you had to pay them commissions. Also, you want to make your buildings have a good conditions, right? So like land, you should do what? Something to make them have a good conditions. So land, you have to do what? Grading, filling, dredging, clearing. 整修、填平、打扫干净等等等。How about buildings the same. You want to make it have a good condition. So including remodeling and replacing or repair the roof, floor, wiring, and plumbing. Okay? So all the things like you remodeling, like the house, the building, is too old. So you want to make it look like new. You maybe have to repainting, such as like painting the wall, or something broke, you have to repair it, so on. So all the things we do, try to make it have a good conditions. So what did you do? You do these kind of things to make your buildings good conditions. When they have a good conditions, then they are ready for use, right? So it's not very easy. After you buy the building, after you buy the house, it's not that, still you have to repair it, remodel it to make it have a good condition. Only they have a good condition, then you will use it, right? So that's why we have these kind of things you still have to do. Okay, any questions? If you don't have any questions, so we stop here. Next hour, we will talk about when you build your own buildings, then how to determine the cost. So let's stop here, take a break.